HarperCollins presents The Coffinmaker's Garden by Stuart MacBride. Read by Ian Hanmore. Stormfront Rising. Chapter 1. After the new Aryan Crusade claimed responsibility for the bombing, the American Vice President described it as a cowardly and disgusting attack. How come there was never any nice news on the radio? Margaret chopped a crunchy orange carrot and tossed it into the bubbling brown cauldron of mince as rain rattled the fogged-up kitchen window. "You know what I think, Alfie? I think these people are poopheads." No response. But then there never was. Once Alfie got himself into a colouring-in book, that was it. He'd get more response from a garden gnome. Ongoing operation to rescue the crew of the Ocean Gold Harvester run aground against the cliffs at Clachmara. We spoke to Sophie O'Brien at the Coast Guard. "Ooh, did you hear that, Alfie? Clachmara. We got a mention on the radio. Isn't that exciting?" Still nothing. Honestly, might as well be on our own here. Oh, it had seemed so romantic on the website. An unmissable opportunity to rent a delightful period seaside cottage with traditional fixtures and decor in a much sought-after location, which meant a leaky roof, wood-panelled walls that hadn't seen a paintbrush since Fred and Rose West were doing up their patio, and single glazing that fogged up if you so much as looked at it. The wind whistled right through the frames if you didn't stuff all the gaps with scrunched-up newspaper, too. Still, at least it was cheap. Another carrot snapped and crackled into random-shaped chunks, because, let's face it, rounds of carrot were revolting. "Extremely challenging conditions, but we're doing everything we can." The warm brown scent of mince filled the room, comforting and familiar as a favourite jumper, hiding the more usual dusty whiff of mice and mildew, keeping the darkness at bay. "Well, I think it's exciting, even if you don't." Police today announced the discovery of a child's body in woodland south of the city. The remains haven't been formally identified yet, but are suspected to be those of Lewis Talbot, the 4-year-old missing since the 14th of October. Poor wee tyke. Margaret dumped the last carrot bits into the pot. "That's why you should never get into a car with strange men, Alfie, or take sweeties from them." Third victim, after Oscar Harris and Andrew Brennan's bodies were discovered earlier this year. "Actually, you know what? Stay away from men, full stop." She rubbed at her swollen belly and puffed out a heartburn breath. "Wouldn't be in this condition if I had. No. I'd be graduating tomorrow with a degree in forensic anthropology, and your granny and grandad would still be talking to me." Sounding kind of bitter there, Margaret. "And whose fault was it you got yourself knocked up?" Sigh. "Never mind, Alfie. At least we've got each other, right?" Still nothing. Seriously, a garden gnome. Now here's Doug with the weather. "Thanks, Colin. Better batten down the hatches, folks, because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better as Storm Trevor moves in from Scandinavia." "Oh, that's just Margaret pinched her lips together and bit down on a word that Alfie was definitely not meant to have in his vocabulary, because knowing him, he'd parrot it at the top of his voice at play school tomorrow, and she'd have to go in for another chat with that pudding-faced harridan Mrs. Gillespie. Try again. "So, my teeny monster, how about you help Mummy and fetch some of those tatties from under the sink?" She turned, speed peeler in hand, holding it like a fairy wand about to grant Alfie's fondest wish, as long as it was for mashed potatoes. Then stopped, mouth open. "All down to this massive area of low pressure moving in from the east. Alfie?" The scarred wooden table was home to a scattered rainbow of felt-tip pens, a partially coloured Tyrannosaurus rex in garish shades of purple and green roaring out of the colouring-in book, a glass of milk and a bourbon biscuit sitting next to them.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?